I'm J.R. Church. Welcome to today's webcast. I want to talk to you again about the Psalms, hidden prophecies in the Psalms. This time I want to talk to you about Psalms 82 and 83. If you recall, Psalm 82 says, "How long will you judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked." Well, if you recall, 1982, it was on June the 6th that Menachem Begin finally launched Operation Peace for Galilee. They moved into Lebanon to disperse the PLO. Yasser Arafat and his Palestine Liberation Organization had taken over Lebanon, so to speak, and they were giving Israel a hard time. And so, under the leadership of Ariel Sharon, the IDF moved into Lebanon. The attack began at 11 a.m. on Sunday, and within 48 hours, many of the PLO's fixed positions and much of its long-range Soviet-built artillery had been eliminated from southern Lebanon. By the time a ceasefire came at the end of the week, at least 60,000 troops, led by more than 500 tanks, had swept across the 63-mile-long Lebanon border and pushed the PLO all the way to Beirut. I've written this in my book, Hidden Prophecies in the Psalms. Please understand, this book is not available right now. It's out of print. But, hey, we're going to be trying to get it back together in the next few months. So be sure and listen up for when this book is available again. So on August 16, 1982, the edition of Time magazine brandished the headline, quote, Beirut goes up in flames, end of quote. Though Israel tried to explain that their attack was not the real thing, Time gave a dismal picture of Israel's blitz, but at least reported Israel's battle strategy. Above the first paragraph in the Time article, they quoted the cliche, "Joshua fought the battle of Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down." Now, you see, Yasser Arafat had dragged his feet, or drug his feet, whatever. He didn't want to leave Beirut. And Israel wanted Arafat to skedaddle. They wanted them to leave Lebanon. And Arafat kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And finally, on August 16th, now remember, the first invasion was June the 6th. So here we are now, a couple of months later, more than 2 months later, on August 16th, and Israel is still in Lebanon. It's draining Israel's economy. Yasser Arafat doesn't care. He wants to stay in Lebanon. So Israel launched a strike against Beirut. Oh, this is good. This is what they did. More than 60 Israeli warplanes took part. According to Beirut reports, quote, Israel dropped their payloads of death and destruction on the besieged city, making some 220 bombing runs. The jets were flying so low that their markings were clearly visible and their noise a deafening howl, wrote the Western correspondent for Time. The PLO dropped their demands and began leaving 2 days later. Yes, Israel was bombing Beirut. No, they weren't. They sent those 60 warplanes flying low over Beirut faster than the speed of sound, which created sonic booms, which the PLO thought were bombs dropping. So really all he was doing was Joshua marching around the walls of Jericho making a lot of noise. That's all they were doing. Oh yeah, they dropped a few bombs here and there to make it look good, but they didn't hurt anything. They simply scared the PLO into thinking they were going to be bombed off the map. Israel was getting a bad press. It was reported that UPI had recently sold to Arab oil interests just a few weeks before the June 6th invasion, and they weren't about to report the story straight. Also, the news media received most of its information from Arafat's brother, who was head of the Red Crescent. That's an Arab division of the Red Cross. Exaggerated out of all proportions, they reported lies about Israel killing innocent civilians by the tens of thousands. According to some reports, Israel supposedly killed more civilians than the entire population of southern Lebanon. They just exaggerated a little too much, don't you think? Menachem Begin came to the UN General Assembly to explain that they went after the PLO to rid the world of terrorism. However, many of the delegates walked out on his speech. The world refused to understand. Amazing, isn't it? And of course, Israel's occupation went into the next year, into 1983. Listen to Psalm 83. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult. They did hate thee, have lifted up their head. They've taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. That's Psalm 83. Perfectly describes Israel's enemies in 1982-83, while Israel was fighting for their life and their very existence in Lebanon, to rid Lebanon of Yasser Arafat and the PLO. Goes on to name who these enemies are. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon, Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them, and they have holpen or helped the children of Lot. So Jordan is described by the ancient tribes listed in these verses, Edom, Moab, and Ammon. The Ishmaelites, children of Ishmael, made up the bulk of modern Arab world. The Hagarenes were children of Hagar. Gebal was a city on the Mediterranean, 25 miles north of Beirut. In Greek and Roman times, it was called Byblos because of the manufacture of papyrus there. Today, the city is called Jabil. It was listed along with Tyre in Lebanon. The Philistines, or Palestinians, are listed. There's some evidence that among the Palestinians are descendants of ancient Edom. Amalek and Asher also have offspring among the Arabs today. Incredible, but there it is. It seems to be a 3,000-year-old description of Israel's modern enemies, along with their attempt to destroy God's chosen people in 1982 and 1983. Verses 14 through 16 indicates that the conflict will continue. I read, as a fire burneth the wood, as the flame setteth the mountains on fire, so persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. It's a fascinating study, these Psalms. They still appear to be right on target. Psalms 82 and 83, Operation Peace for Galilee. Incredible. But the enemy is named. You can't get any clearer than that. And their plan? To destroy Israel so that the name of Israel would be no more. Amazing. Well, there's a lot more in the Psalms. I'd like for you to get this DVD that we've been offering. It's called The Prophetic Psalms. I preached this to a live audience at a prophecy conference in Florida, and I want you to have it. It's our way of saying thank you for your gift to help us with our television studio. We have built the studio. We're now in the studio. We've got this new furniture, and all of this is paid for thanks to your contributions. And we have a third camera that we're negotiating for. We have raised the funds for that camera. But there are a few other things that we need, and from the prices I've heard so far, we're going to need a lot. Maybe another $20,000. Anyway, whatever you can give to help us, if you'd like to designate your gift to help us finish this studio so that we can go to widescreen pictures, that's not buying new cameras. The two cameras that we have now that use 4x3, all we have to do is flip a switch and it'll go 16:9. The only problem is we can't record that on our current equipment. So we need your help to buy some equipment back there in the control room